this. Welcome to the 10-minute talk on tactics, battlefield to the boardroom, our weekly effort to talk about things that matter to humans and people who want to improve and want to live in a healthy world by being healthy people. You are with Philip Folsom, who is the K4 Wolf Tribe anthropology guy, and myself, Colonel Garth Massey, with Command Ready. And today we are talking about the rite of passage.
Ooh, my favorite thing.
Why?
It is my favorite thing. I think
it's hard. It involves beating, doesn't it? Like, don't you have to like blood your first deer and drink its raw whatever? And
yes, and receive a ritual scarring somewhere off in the bushes with the men. Yeah. No. This is going to be one that we're going to have to pack in for our tactical 10. So I'll give you it in broad strokes. We are a species, a culture that requires an initiation process. And this is speaking more to the men who are watching this than the women who tend to self-initiate because of menstruation and the way they're wired and a bunch of other things. But for men, it would appear that in every culture throughout every time, there has been an absolute need to go from the mother's house to the father's house. And so the way that our species appears to operate is that the women take over the initial operating system installation of domesticate the young savages, keep them safe so they don't go try to ride a buffalo and die. And then at some point, that gets handed over to the men who then install the new operating system, which is service and how to be a full-fledged member of the tribe. And that new operating system involves the death of the old operating system, which is why, you know, we have to go kill the deer or receive the scarring or
walk
go
to
buds or the crucible. The crucible is one of those things, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's a funny thing because I think we get this confused a lot as we talk about in our society, you know, genders and masculinity and toxic masculinity. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the way we think and going from the the individualism of adolescence. When you join boot camp, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that. And what do? They put you all in the same clothes. They line you up in the way they want. They shave your head. And in the Marine Corps for 12 weeks, they march you around and insist that you remove all personal pronouns. You know, it's this candidate or this recruit and it's done after decades of trial and error and decades of research into what helps strip away this individual service and create somebody who is willing to sacrifice or to give or to share with others. Because when you are deployed, the hardships are real. And when you're in combat, the hardships are real. And you have to be willing to give up for other people for the unit to succeed. And I tell you, there's nothing more toxic than when you're, you know, in a fighting position and you got someone who's kind of all on them. And I'm not talking like human self-preservation. Like, I get the desire not to get blowed up. But when you work with people who are concerned about their promotion, when you work with people who are concerned about whose name goes first on the report and who gets to brief in what order because they want to be seen by the CEO doing their right. I mean, it all translates. This isn't about bullets. This is about a frame of mind in that you have responsibilities, and it is not toxic to recognize that your tribe, whatever that is, your group of friends, your family, your company, your unit, whatever that is your responsibility to take care of. And yeah, I'm getting fired up just thinking about it. And I'll tell you why. But I mean, am I off base? Because I love the term operating system because it removes all this sort of the politics that gets laid into every conversation about what right looks like.
Hey, the big one here is that initial adolescent psychology the boy or the prince operating system runs on the currency of external validation. This is an important thing, gentlemen. So if you're feeling like you're not appreciated, most of y'all just probably nodded your head, or you need to have praise, acknowledgement, affirmations, all the little likes that get hit. This is all markers of that adolescent operating system. When we transition to service of something bigger than ourselves, that external validation currency shifts to the currency of the kingdom. You stop being worried about the little ticky-tack things. You know, when you become a dad, when you become a business owner, when you become member of something bigger than yourself, the little things don't bother you as much anymore, because you start to look at the kingdom. You start to look at your organization or your family, your community, the role we play as citizens of our country. We've lost a lot of that. And so this transition to reclaiming, you know, a healthy, mature, and I'll call it masculine operating system for us men, is central to the conversation we're having right now as a country.
Yeah, because what happens if we don't make that transition? What happens if we have 30 and 40-year-olds running around, you know, in positions of leadership who have not transitioned from the prince to the king or the adolescent to the adult? Like, where does that leave us?
Yeah, it leaves us with a lot of individual people clamoring to get theirs. And we're a culture, we're a species even that exists on collaboration. That is what humans do. You know, tigers do what they do. Humans work together to do what we do. Right. And so when you don't have that sense or the priority of the collective, and it's just you trying to get yours, then you've just got a bunch of hyenas fighting for scraps. And that's what our country is devolving into. So it's very important to realize that we're designed to have this alignment about some big common collaborative issues and things that we can all lean into that provide us with this meaning, purpose. That's big game, right? We need to work together to hunt the big game of meaning and purpose, resiliency, all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can identify meaning and purpose on your own. It's too big.
It's inherently about something bigger than yourself. Always. When eventually you get to, you know, capital P, purpose, or the meaning of life, it comes down to service. Always, 100%. It's going to be related to what do you now contribute to that thing that is bigger than yourself.
Okay, so how do you pass through initiation? I mean, if you join military service, there's an honor code society. It's a group of people who have said, all right, here's the prescribed method to strip the I and put the we. Mm-hmm. Got it, right? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes eventually they rejoin society. Got that. That's the transition to military, but that's a small percentage of our overall society. There's no initiation rite graduating from high school. That's an achievement of I. There's no initiation rite graduating from college. That's an achievement of I. There's no initiation rite getting hired through an interview process, no matter how robust the process. That's an achievement of I. And then the problem I hit all the time when I'm working with people is then they get that first leadership role and everything they've been taught from the beginning is I, whether they use the word or not. And now they're trying to manage another team. And the only tool they've been provided by their education is work harder and make the people keep up, you know, or direct them and make them keep up. And what happens is you get a lot of leaders. And if you're honest about looking around organizations, there are a lot of leaders out there who barely define a task, barely explain what they want you to do, may or may not give you the training to get the task accomplished. And then when the date comes or the sales aren't hit or the goal's not met or you don't have, you know, the right operating system to manage your process, well, then they replace you, you know, or they replace the leader and it's the hyenas. So where is the initiation in our world now? Like, where do we go?
Yeah. This was not meant to be like a shameless plug for, you know, a men's group, but this is what, you know, to even get into K4, we go through a 13-week rite of passage where you first of all have to be introduced to this topic and the fact that we have had part of a society that has forgotten and neglected this vital piece. So that, you know, that's right off the bat. There are books to read. There's information to have. Everyone is looking for purpose in a career, right? In a relationship, in your community where you live. We were talking about that earlier this morning. These are all things that create purpose. And eventually once we go down those roads far enough, then we get to the understanding of it's not about me anymore. It's about what I'm contributing to that larger thing. So in our culture, I believe that we no longer have this transition where you stop being a boy and now you're a man. Even in indigenous cultures that have a formal initiation rite of practice or passage, it's still built on 15 years of indoctrination into a shared set of mission, vision, and values, which is the foundation of culture. So for you business folks, you leaders, managers of organizations, that's the first thing to do, is get very clear about what your authentic vision is for where you're going. Get very clear about what your operating system of decision-making is, which are values, and then share those, get buy-in for those. Because the moment we start experiencing a shared set of beliefs, we start looking at each other as kin. And that's part of the understanding of the larger collective. It's the reason why you will always be a Marine, because you're part of something that was a shared set of values and beliefs, and that's culture.
Yeah. Look, if you made it this far, I mean, we don't even have to tell you that the shameless plug is this is what we do. But the reason we do it is because it works. Every time you work with an organization and people have the epiphany that it's not about them, it's about how they work and share or are kin with other people, is why we're both in this business. And there's no one initiation that does it. Life is not about the achievement. Life is about being. It's about finding what that philosophy is and then living it, even when it's hard. And there's, you don't get the end and you don't want the end. Like people talk about like, oh, I need to finish this thing and then I can pick the new thing. And it's like, physics doesn't work like that. Like our life is struggle and motion. And when stuff hits you, it changes your trajectory. You don't get to stop, reset, and launch again. Like we don't have that benefit. But I think the first step then, because there's no big formal cultural thing, we don't do, big campfires anymore, is you have to seek out a program like that. Not because, partly because you just can't do it on your own. Like you can't initiate yourself. So there are programs, we both have them. In fact, March, we teased out several times. Late March, we're going up to the mountains here in California. If you're around, we've already had a couple people write us to get signed up. There will be a little initiation. There will be initiation. It's 2 full days in the mountain, 2 Fridays, and it's 8-hour days. And we're going to make you walk up and down things. We're going to make you think. We're going to make you write. We owe you some details on that. We'll start posting that where people can get signed up. But you need to find ways to participate in things that get you initiated, whether it's K4, it's, command ready stuff online. It's going to these, retreat type stuff. We both are part of exercise groups and accountability groups, and that stuff matters. Pick good ones, participate in them, and get involved in the thought of how to initiate yourself into a leader role, not the self-serving eye. And for all you guys watching, the where the rubber meets the road is people who have been initiated into an adult psychological operating system have the ability to sacrifice, which is the raw ingredients for sacred, whatever that is. Can you sacrifice? Can you sacrifice what you want now, which is donuts and sloth and Netflix and all those small things, clamoring for your own needs? Can you sacrifice that for something greater, not only in the future, but for our people? Yeah. On that 10-minute tactics talk. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. All right. Bye, guys.